Yes, team, it's race week. Welcome. Jimmy here from the Hybrid Athlete Club, and I'm super excited that we have finally made it to our race week. Now, if you are part of the Hybrid Athlete Club team, welcome back. If you're new here, my name is Coach Jimmy, head coach at the Hybrid Athlete Club. This session, this video, is really to answer all of the questions that we typically get in the build-up to a Hyrox race. We've got an absolute ton of content to go through today, but if you have got any questions or you want to talk about any of the individual bits a little bit more, drop them in the comments or reach out on our Instagram. You can see the tag above, and we will be more than happy to help. I'm going to dive right in because, as I said, we have got a ton of content to go through. Loads and loads of advice and guidance. We've broken it into two sections. We're going to have a look at the race week. So I've actually got the blueprint, the training week that all of our Hybrid Athlete Club members go through. We'll look at that day by day. I've also got some examples of the recovery methods and the nutrition protocols that we suggest to our members, as well as a few tools that you can use to really refine your race strategy before race day. Then we're going to have a look at race day itself. So what we need to be thinking about in terms of mindset, getting ourselves mentally ready to tackle the race as well as physically, and then what we're going to be eating before the race. And that's going to differ whether you're racing in the morning or in the evening. And I've got an example of a strategy for both. And then lastly, I've got a warm up for you. So what you're going to do when you get to the venue, how you're going to get yourself ready to tackle the race. As I said, a ton of stuff coming your way. There is a lot. So I've written out the kind of tidbits, the key takeaways for you here, and go through them real quick, and then we're going to dive into that detail as promised. The key thing for this week is that we want to give our body a chance to adapt to the training we've done. All of your fitness progress will happen before this week. This week is really ready, really geared towards making sure that the axe is nice and sharp, both physical and mental, and we are ready to race. Now, what that's going to look like in practice is a real big drop in volume. So giving your body a chance to adapt to all that work, recover, and get ready to roll when it comes to race day. That said, your body is phenomenally good at adapting. And what we don't want is you to sit around all week feeling sluggish and your body start to switch off. We want to keep that central nervous system primed and ready to race. So what you'll see in the example week coming up is a few opportunities to rev that engine. Now, with that reduction in training volume, hopefully you'll find yourself a bit of extra time. With that time, we need to prepare. We need to prepare by reading the handbook that Hyrox provide. Now, I know it seems a bit laborious. It seems a bit over the top to have instructions for a race, but if there has ever been a race that you need to make sure you understand all the little nuanced rules, I think Hyrox might be that race, because there are a few quirky little rules, things you might not think about just from watching the race that you need to be aware of. Reading that rule book is going to be super important that you are ready for race day. Preparing your race day and in-race logistics, what that will look like is what your plan is for getting to the venue, etc. And then more importantly, how you're going to tackle the race. Are you going to take drink with you, etc.? Food with you? When are you going to drink that? How are you going to eat that? I'm going to go through all of that a bit later on. Lastly, you've got a bit of time now to hopefully reflect on your training over the last 8-10 weeks. What does your race plan look like? Get it on paper. Give yourself an opportunity to reflect back on that after the race. Did it go to plan? We're going to go through how you'll do that later on. Last thing, team, is emphasizing a couple of things. Now, the first thing is really taking some time to look back on the training that you've done. Of course, we're going to plan for race day to go super well. But as I said earlier, all of that hard work you've put in over the last 8-10 weeks is where all of your progress has been made. And race day is just an opportunity to show that, right? But really, how you got here is the most important thing, because whether you deliver that in a package on race day or not, you've still got all that fitness and all of that extra capability that you can use both at Hyrox events and whatever else you set your mind to. The last thing, probably most important thing I can give you as a tidbit is to stick to the plan that we lay out here. It's been tried, it's been tested, but also you're going to have lots of opportunity over this week to see other people doing things on social media, comparing yourself and your race week strategy to others, and also probably coming across a few last minute supplements, some last minute bits of kit that you think might make a big change. Once you've got a plan, which hopefully after this video you have, let's just stick to that plan. That will give us a really good opportunity to look back at our race week plan and say whether it will work for us or not. Now, the biggest part of that plan is absolutely nothing new. Don't add anything into this week that you haven't used, eaten, drank already, and known how your body is going to react. If there is one piece of advice, one sentence I want to take away from this video, it is exactly this, guys. Don't add anything else in new. Regardless of how good the reviews read, how good your mate sells it to you, don't add anything new in this week, because the last thing you want is your race to be hampered by something you weren't expecting. Okay, tidbits done. Let's dive into the detail. First thing we're going to look at, race week training. And as promised, I've got a whole week of training planned out for you. I'm going to give you a really good view of this. Let's zoom right in if we can. Now, what you're going to notice right off the bat here is that our week is split over 6 days. Now, the reason for that is some of you are going to be racing on Saturday. Some of you are going to be racing on Sunday. Treat this as Monday to Saturday. So you're racing on Sunday, but if you are racing on Saturday, all you're going to do is shift everything back a day. If you need very, very specific advice because your circumstances are unique, then by all means, reach out to us. As I said, we'll be very happy to help you out. The other thing you'll notice is that the majority of our work happens at the start of the week, and that is to give our body lots and lots of chance to rest and again, adapt from the training. But as I said, we have got a few opportunities in here to rev that engine. So what you'll see in our run and row, our ski and burpee, our sled and run sessions is some really intentional pacings on our ergs. You've got an opportunity here to, as I said, rev the engine, get the heart rate up a little bit, but it needs to be intentional. The week on a whole wants to be nice and easy. All we're trying to do in this week is just touch every workout station, get a bit of running in and make sure that the body is ticking over nicely, but also give ourselves a chance to 100% confirm how we're going to tackle each movement in terms of movement pattern and what it should feel like, and how we're going to pace our running and our ergs. And this is going to give you a chance to do just that. On day 4, you've got a bit of running. Now, again, the key thing here is that it feels easy for the most part, but we have got a few sets of 5 minutes at your target pace. So that is going to be the last opportunity you have to really refine exactly how your race pace should feel and whether it is going to be achievable given the context that you've had over the last couple of weeks and the way that this week has gone to achieve that target pace. And this is the last time we really want to be thinking about changing up our race plan at all. After Thursday, after day 4, once you've written out that plan, all of your paces, etc., leave it be and let's try and stick to that. Last thing you'll notice on here is the day before your race, we have a shakeout run. Now, this comes from the running crew. The idea behind this is just to get the body moving for 15 to 20 minutes right before race. Now, if you've traveled, driven, sat down on a train, etc., flown, we want to give the body a chance just to flush itself out, get any aches, niggles, etc. highlighted so that we can spend the evening ironing those out. That shakeout run, though, should feel very, very easy. As it says here, it is just a chance to get the body ticking over. It should be in no way seen as a training session, just a chance to get out and about. maybe shake out some pre-race nerves and get the legs ticking over. Feel free to screenshot that and use that as your base. Now let's move on to recovery in the week. This is going to look different for each and every one of you. And there's 4 things on here that really I just want you to keep front of mind. And as I said, if you've got any particular nuanced questions or questions that might be specific to you, then let's address those on a one-to-one basis. Drop us a message. But things we need to be thinking about, first and foremost, is making sure that your body has got what it needs to recover. We're going to come on to nutrition in just a minute. Part of that is to make sure that we are well hydrated. Now, again, how much you drink is specific to all of you, but just making sure that it's front of mind, you're constantly sipping on water throughout the week. Second thing is sleep. If anything is going to help you adapt and recover from the training block and the training this week, it's going to be making sure that you are prioritizing your sleep. Now, as I said, the context of your week is going to be different for all of you. For some of you, this could mean that you get an extra hour. For others, it might just be an extra 10 minutes. But any extra sleep and good quality sleep is going to be super, super beneficial. So again, just keeping that front of mind. I think one of the best pieces of advice that I was given and that I have gone on to give is to get off of social media right before the race. Particularly if you're susceptible to pre-race nerves or comparing yourself to others. Social media is a place that you're going to constantly see people training, even if they aren't training in the same context to you or even for the same race. You're going to see them moving and it's going to bring up thoughts like, should I be doing more? Should I be doing something different? The last thing you want, as I said, is to hamper your race plan. We want to get it in place this week and give ourselves the best chance to execute it well and then reflect on it after the race. Getting off social media, even if it's just for a day or 2 beforehand, 1 will help you sleep and hopefully 2 will stop that comparison nerves kind of creeping in. The last thing here, staying light on your feet. Now, again, this is going to be different for all of you, but a big part of the race week is a reduction in training volume. And I think a common mistake or a misconception is because you've got extra time and because you aren't training, that you can go out for a long walk and keep yourself moving. We've got the running and the training in the week. We've got the shakeout run there, all intentionally giving you an opportunity to move. Because we've got that reduction in training, what we don't want is you to then make up, quote unquote, the lack of training with tens of thousands of steps over the week. So yes, move by all means, head out for a little walk, brush off the nerves and get rid of that anxious feeling, but just stay light on your feet. Keep it short, keep it sweet, and give your body a chance to catch up. Nutrition then. So again, this is the context of the week first and foremost. Now, as with any nutrition advice, what we've got here is some blanket recommendations. They're generic. So with that in mind, take them on board with a pinch of salt. And if you've got any questions, we've got an in-house nutritionist that can help you refine this for your particular needs and the context that you live in. So I'm going to go through these, but keep that in the back of your mind. Reach out to us if you've got any specific questions. Firstly, I just want to address the carb loading. This week, pre-race, you're going to see lots and lots of people give their suggestions, recommendations, 10 pence worth on carb loading. Now, the crux of it is the race for most of us is going to be between 60 and 90 minutes. So it's not like we're doing a marathon or a super endurance race. Your body is capable of holding lots of carbohydrates. What we need to do is just make sure that those stores are topped up. So don't overthink this. On the next slide, I've got an overview of exactly how I approach it and how I recommend our team approach it. The key things is just, as I said, to make sure you've got water and salt intake front of mind. You're making sure that you're sipping on water throughout the week. Secondly, fruits and veggies contain those micronutrients, the good bits that we need in food to help our body recover and again prepare for the day. As we taper the training through the week, one approach you can use to make sure that you've got those stores topped up is to keep your calories the same. Now, if you don't track at the moment, you don't need to start tracking, but just keep your food consistent throughout the week. Don't change anything because you aren't training. That will give you a slight surplus that should keep those carb stores topped up, ready for race day. Now, if that freaks you out and you're worried about gaining weight, the key thing, as I said, is that your carb stores are topped up. If we don't want the surplus in calories, we can just reduce your fat intake, for example, as we've increased your carb intake to balance things out. Now, again, I want to keep this generic. So if you've got any particular questions, drop us a message. The key takeaway here, team, as I said right at the start, is absolutely nothing new. And I'm going to emphasize it again here as we look at this simple week. Keep all of the foods, all of your drinks, all of your supplements the same as they always have been. Don't introduce anything new and give it a chance to mess up your race. This is a really simple way of making sure that those carb stores are topped up and not stressing you out too much about this element of your race week. As you can see, the suggestion here for day 1 to 3 is just no change whatsoever. Just stick to exactly how you would normally eat around your training on a normal day. To make sure that we are fully loaded with those carbs to use on race day, all we're going to do is add in a piece of fruit or a snack in and around each meal on days 4, 5, and the day before the race, with the addition of something carby right before you go to bed before race day. That is super simple. As I said, relatively generic, but it gives you a bit of a blueprint. I'm going to go into race day nutrition in just a minute, but if you have got any particular questions, reach out to the team. Let's have a look at your race strategy then. And what do we mean by race strategy? Well, as you saw in our race training week, we've got a couple of rest days. We're going to utilize those rest days to answer some of the questions that we have on the board. The first of those is our race day plan. And within this, we've got things like how we're going to get to the venue, where we're going to park the car, how we're going to get from the car to the race, what does check-in look like, where do I put my bag, where do I keep my food, my water, etc. Making sure that you have answers to all of those sorts of questions, the majority of which are going to be found in the handbook, is going to be super important at the start of the week. We don't want that added stress right before race day. So in that day 3 rest day, get all the answers to the questions that are swirling around in your head. Jump on the Facebook groups, drop us a message, get the answers as soon as you can. What is your warm-up? Well, I'm going to give you one in just a minute, so hopefully that answers that question. What is your race strategy and what is plan B? If you're a Hybrid Athlete Club member, I really hope by now that you know what your race strategy is, because we've been practicing our race paces on all of our stations and our running over the last few weeks. If you haven't yet used our race calculator, jump on the website, hybridathleteclub.com. We've got a calculator on there. If you put in your target time for Hyrox, it will give you a race plan, and you can compare that to what your training has been like over the last few weeks. And as I said many a times, if you want to talk through that, you can with me. Just drop us a message or comment below. Secondly, I think a key thing for everyone is just to understand that your race day and your ability to perform on race day is a skill. Yes, you've done all the training, but delivering that training in a race when you've got the added stress of travel, the environment that you're competing in, and all of the other unforeseen things like people influencing the way that you're doing things by being in the way or being around you in general, is a skill that you need to practice. So if when you start the race and things aren't quite going to plan, what is plan B? What are you going to default to? I think a big part of that is understanding what success looks like for you on race day. Is it a target time, or are you there just to get through the race and have some fun? Writing down on a bit of paper exactly what you want to get from the race, whether that is a feeling or a certain time or overall or a certain time on a station, getting that on paper will not only give the people around you, your friends, your family, an understanding of what you want to get from the day and a way to praise you if you do that, but also when you cross that finish line, it is very likely, once you peeled yourself off the floor at least, that you have an opportunity to compare yourself to other people. You've got a leaderboard there. I guarantee you'll think you'll be able to have gone seconds quicker on this station, or you could have approached this differently. Having something written down that you can refer back to and compare your effort to what success looked like before you started is going to be really important in not overthinking things. So write yourself down your target, whether that is a time or a feeling, and refer back to it after the race. Okay, that is race week done. We're going to move on to race day now. So what does your day look like, whether you're racing in the morning or racing in the evening? We're going to go through mindset things to think about. If you've got a few top tips in here that we've picked up over the years. What are you going to eat and drink the morning of and during the day if you're racing in the evening? And then, as promised, I've got a warm up for you as well. Let's have a look at mindset stuff then. So if you haven't been to a Hyrox before, if this is your first race, the first thing you need to be aware of as that video is panning around on the screen is Hyrox is absolute chaos. Now, it is the best kind of environment I have ever competed in, I've ever supported somebody in. It's phenomenal. The stations are set up so that you can have people all the way down the lunge length, the burpee length, the farmer's carry length. You've got a grandstand around your wall balls. Everyone's cheering you on. And in the context of watching a video, that seems like it would be absolutely mega. But when you get there, if you are remotely susceptible to a bit of nerves or being overwhelmed by a crowd, well, you're going to get one. So the key thing for me is just understanding what a race day looks like. Hopefully that video gives you a bit of insight. But also, if you know now that you might be a little bit nervous or you do get a bit overwhelmed by crowds, just get there super early. And by that, I mean, you're probably going to need for check-in, bag drop, and your warm-up about an hour to an hour and a half. Particularly if you're competing in London, because it's quite a popular, busy race, you're going to need about 90 minutes. So getting there early means adding on time on top of that. Second thing is just having a plan for the day. So again, if this is your first Hyrox race, make sure you've gone onto the Hyrox website and you've looked at the map. You've looked at where the bag check-in is, where the bag drop is, and where the start tent is. When you arrive, they have a big map printed out for you and displayed. So make sure you check that. You know exactly where everything is. If you've got people with you, just write down your plan on a bit of paper and have them hold you accountable to it. So for example, our warm-up that I'm going to show you in just a minute is 45 minutes. Make sure that everyone knows that if you start your race at 9 a.m., you need to be in the warm-up area at 8:15 a.m. And they need to be shuffling you into that warm-up area or dropping your bag off for you, for example, to get you in that warm-up area on time. If you know, if you're on your own, then you know exactly what the plan is, you can refer to it and you aren't stressing about timings, etc. A big part of that, as I said, is bag drop. Where is it? Expect a queue there, but also where are the loos and where is some food? Because they're two things you're going to probably almost definitely need on the day. And again, you just don't want to be stressed about those things when it comes to race day. Understand that stuff beforehand. Last thing on here, as I said, if it is your first Hyrox, the atmosphere is what sets it apart from everything else. So just at some point, please, whether it's before or after the race, look up, look around and just soak it all in. Get goosebumps. it's a ridiculous atmosphere to be in. Support some people, get to the wall ball grandstand, spend some time looking around and make the most of that day. Because yes, you're there to race. Yes, you need to get your head down. You need to try hard. But boy, is it something special. Couple of top tips for you. Now, these are like bits that we've either been suggested to by some of our athletes or we've picked up ourselves. That I think is definitely worthwhile just giving a bit of time to. Firstly, if you're someone that has some high intensity training experience, something like CrossFit, for example, and you know that you struggle to remember the order of a workout, or this is your first Hyrox and you're not 100% sure on what order the stations are in, just write them on the back of your hand or on your forearm. Seems a bit over the top, but again, it just quashes any nerves. As you're running around, there is a mat that you'll run over and a big screen that will tell you exactly where to go. There's also banners for each of the workout stations, and it's got a number on them, so they're in order. But in the moment, it can still be difficult to figure out what to do and where you are. The big part of that as well is the number of laps that you're going to run. Now, this changes per venue, and a good tip, top tip that we were given is just to have like a poker chip or something for each of the laps, stick them in one pocket and transfer them over to the other pocket each time you do a lap. So if you know you're doing 4 laps, for instance, 4 chips after each lap, stick it in the other pocket, and you know that you're just taking them from right to left each time. Make sure you're not doing any extra. The last thing, if you've seen any of our content, one of the biggest time wasters in Hyrox is the rock zone, the space between the stations and the run. And in that zone, you are going to find the drink station. And it is going to be more tempting than ever to stop and take a swig of water or Red Bull. Don't drink the Red Bull. In that space, they only give you water in cups. So if you want anything to go in your mouth hole and not all over you, you're going to have to stop and walk or stop completely and take a drink. We've tried and tested these soft water flasks. No, we don't sell them. Just chuck the branded one on screen. But if you jump onto Amazon, soft flask or soft water running flask, they come in 125 and 250 milliliters. So they're small, they're compact, they squidge up once you've drunk some. You also have to bite the top for the water to come out. So it's not going anywhere whilst it's sat in your pocket. Probably one of the best bits of advice. It just means that you can drink on the move and you aren't wasting time in that rock zone. Okay, race day nutrition then. So following on from that water, as I said, we've broken this up into before lunch races and after lunch races. I'll reiterate for one last time, absolutely nothing new, particularly on race day, but as I said, in race week. Moving on to those that are racing before lunch. So you will have had that big bowl of oats or cereal or something the night before. So you should have an ample supply of carbs. Now, we just want to get something little in the system to quench any hunger that we have and get us feeling ready to race. But what we don't want is anything too heavy in the stomach. So a small bowl of porridge, for instance, a banana, you've got some flapjack on there. Just have something small. You're better to graze up to the race than you are to have a big breakfast and have that sit digesting in the stomach. So something small, and keep having a little top up of snacks until about 60 minutes before your race. That should be your last intake. Similar thing with water. Now, when you arrive at the venue, it's going to be absolutely boiling. You're going to be nervous. Dry mouth is real. That isn't an indication that you need to drink. It's just an indication that you're nervous. So the common mistake we see is people necking water, trying to get in as much as they can. They flush all the electrolytes out of their system. So just sip on water every now and then. Have a little bottle with you that you can dispose of alongside your flask in the race, and just keep sipping on that as you go. If you're racing in the evening, our suggestion is that you just keep things normal for breakfast and lunch. And then you're going to take on board what I just said. So after lunch, just keep grazing on snacks if you feel a bit hungry. Keep them carb-based. Once you've got to 60 minutes before, just stop eating and keep sipping water after that. As I said, team, this is super generic advice. If you've got any particular questions, drop us a message. Last but not least, what are we going to do for our warm-up? Now, again, I've written this out for you, so you haven't got to think about it. Feel free to take a screenshot and use this. The two key things here for me are we want to get the body moving. So on the left-hand side, you've just got a bit of a general warm-up to get the body moving, grease the groove, see how things are feeling today. In an ideal world, this would include the workout stations. But in my experience and the experience of the team that we've had at races in the past, that warm-up area is just too busy. And I've written these on the assumption that you can't touch things like a sled, kettlebells, etc. If you can, then by all means add in a little play around on top of this 45 minutes before warm-up. But as I said, in my experience, that's just not the case. The last thing we want to do, now this is going to happen about 30 minutes before your start time, is to rev the engine. Common mistake when people start Hyrox is to shoot out the gate like they're being chased. They're going to pack you into a tunnel, really loud music. They're going to hype you up with The Greatest Showman. You're going to be ready and raring to go. And if you go out too hot, your body is going to initiate that fight or flight reaction, and it's going to end badly. So what we want to do is just make sure that we are safeguarded against that. We're going to do that by just having a couple of revs of the engine at just above the pace that we want to be moving throughout the race. I've written here an example of how you do that. So we're going to have 3 lots of 2 minutes on a runner or a rower or a ski erg. 1 minute of that is going to just be nice and easy. Then we're going to go 30 seconds where we take ourselves well above the race pace that we want to sustain, and then take it back to a walking pace. So think jog, sprint, walk. We're going to do that 3 times, 2 minutes, 3 times, 6 minutes. After that, you've got about 20 minutes just to relax, let everything flush out, keep sipping on the water, and get yourself in that starting tent. And that, team, is it. Hopefully you have got everything you need there to absolutely nail race week, get yourself to the venue with a plan ready to execute. And as I said, please spend some time on the day just taking it all in, because the training block that you've put in is where all the progress is made. And regardless of what happens on that race day, you are a fitter and more capable human than you were before you started this journey. So get your head up, soak it all in. You've made it to race day. Well done. I hope it goes to plan. If you've got any questions, if you want to chat through this in a more specific context to you, please do reach out to us. I hope that was super useful, team. You've taken something away, and I will see you at a Hyrox race very, very soon.